In this video, we will be discussing how Thor will die in God of War. Be sure to check out my featured band Lunglass and stay to the end to find out all the lore attached. Here we go.
Thor, the god of thunder, sworn enemy and destroyer of the giants. Or as Mimir likes to call him,
the fat dauber.
How will the bane of all the Jotnar finally meet his end? What incredible force will finally bring the end for the champion of the Aesir? I believe there will be a lot of bloodshed, creation, time travel, and more, so stay tuned. In Norse mythology, as I am sure most of you know, Thor is a part of one of the most fierce duels to the death in the Battle of Ragnarok. Also possessing the element of thunder, he also possesses one of the most powerful weapons in all the realms, Mjolnir, the counter to Kratos' Leviathan axe, the god who has so much sheer strength as he does brutality. So it is hard to think of the being who will finally take him down. But in this video we'll be discussing how Thor will die in God of War. So let's start at the end of God of War. Baldur was just defeated and killed by Atreus and Kratos. Baldur was loved by everyone and everything in the Norse world, even the wildlife and plants. He was also the brother of Thor, who he was also loved by. During our playthroughs, Kratos and Atreus, or Loki for that matter, killed Thor's sons, Magni and Modi. Thor has to have a huge target on Kratos and Atreus. And Thor is not a forgiving person. He will want revenge to the extreme. In saying this, we are going to be going off a theory that I already discussed in a prior video. So if you haven't seen it, check it out right here. But if you have, you know what I'm talking about, and thank you for your time and your support. So Thor is out for revenge. In a sneak peek at the end of God of War, Thor can be seen outside of Kratos and Atreus' home, where he just stands there menacingly with his trusty weapon, Mjolnir. He is here to reap a small slice of his revenge, but I do not think he will be alone. I'm not sure who will be with him, some other Aesir god perhaps, but he is going to bring Atreus back to Asgard, to Odin, and make Kratos feel the pain of being stripped away from his child. And I believe he will succeed, because Thor is not going to die until Ragnarok. So years have passed, and Atreus will become the god of mischief Loki during this time in Asgard. If you are slightly confused of where we are right now, check out my previous video on how Atreus will cause Ragnarok. But while you're here, let's continue. In Norse mythology, Thor is bound by fate to fight Jormungandr, the world serpent, in the Battle of Ragnarok, and to which Jormungandr is a son of Loki. But more on that later. One day Thor and Loki were traveling across Jotunheim, bound for the castle of the Jotnar king, along with a human companion named Thjalfi. And yes, I'm giving you the short story, or as short as possible. When the group arrived at the castle, they were welcomed by the king Utgard. The king saw the three companions, tiny by Jotnar stature, and challenged them to any challenge that they wish. Loki said he would like to compete in an eating contest. Now, Loki was known to throw back his food. He was met in the challenge by a Jotnar named Logi. A banquet was placed in front of them, and they both ate vastly. Loki ate all that was in front of him, but Logi ate the food, bones, and even the plates, so he was claimed the victor. Thjalfi, who is known as one of the fastest runners in all the land, challenged the Jotnar to a foot race. A giant named Hugi stepped up to the challenge. By the time Thjalfi reached the halfway point of the race, he noticed Hugi had already finished. Now it was Thor's turn. Thor was known to be a mighty drinker and stated he wanted a drinking contest. Utgard sent for a drinking horn. Utgard stated he must drain the entire horn to win the challenge. Try as he might, as much as he drank, Thor dropped the level of the horn only slightly. Utgard laughed at Thor and sent for an easier challenge, quote unquote. He sent for his cat, and the challenge was to lift the cat off the ground. Thor accepted the challenge. With all his mighty strength, he raised the cat with all of his might, but he can only raise one of the cat's paws. Utgard laughed even louder at Thor and gave him one last challenge. He sent for his elderly nurse to wrestle the god. And try as he might, Thor was overcome by the woman and forced to his knees. Enraged, the party stormed out of the castle. Utgard followed them until they were out of hearing range from the other Jotnar. Utgard confessed that they had been tricked. None of the Jotnar challengers were as they seemed. Loki during his challenge was faced against the element of fire, which devoured everything in its path. Thor was faced against a thought and was defeated because no one could be faster than a thought. Now for Thor's challenges. Why Thor could barely lower the level of the drinking horn was because it was attached to the ocean, which was impossible for anyone to drink. The cat was actually the world serpent Jormungandr, and as strong as Thor was, he could barely lift the serpent's tail. Now the elderly woman that Thor wrestled was actually old age, because everyone could not defeat it. Thor was enraged, but before he could get his revenge, Utgard vanished. Thor does not like to be defeated, and the only thing that he could take out his rage on was Jormungandr. Now Jormungandr and Thor would cross paths again. Odin wanted Jormungandr to be taken care of, and Thor was more than happy to take on the challenge. Thor hooked Jormungandr while he was fishing, and the two battled. Their battle could be felt throughout the realms. Neither could gain advantage on each other, and after many days, and in other contradictions, it was weeks, Thor returned empty-handed to Odin. Now let's transition back to God of War. There is an image on the wall in Jotunheim that depicts Atreus holding Kratos by the head as if coddling him at the end of his life. But notice the substance coming out of his mouth and around Kratos. There is a theory that Kratos is dead and Atreus turns him into Jormungandr to save his life, through some kind of magic. I'm not really a huge fan of this theory because that means we probably won't be able to play Kratos again, which I really don't like. My theory is Kratos is about to die during the Battle of Ragnarok while fighting Thor, and Atreus comes to his aid. Seeing his father passing before his eyes, he generates an immense amount of energy, and that energy, which I believe will be similar to Spartan Rage in a way, but would be used to heal. After Atreus will use his energy on Kratos and heal him, from the energy will give birth to Jormungandr. Now remember, time works very weird in Norse mythology. So maybe Jormungandr died during the beginning of the battle or sometime before. In God of War, Kratos told Atreus that his anger could be used as a weapon. Maybe Atreus uses emotions to save Kratos. I think it's a pretty cool theory, so tell me what you think in the comments down below. We all know Ragnarok is coming. There is a big theory that Kratos is Ragnarok, and there is a tweet from Cory Barlog saying something very similar. But Cory is a mad genius, and he's not going to give us the whole truth. So for the sake of the video, we're going to assume that Ragnarok is what it is in mythology, the final battle that will end the Norse gods. So during the final battle, the big players will be there. Thor, Odin, Loki, Kratos, and others of course. But the one that has his fate mixed with Thor, and the one that he will battle at this time, is of course Jormungandr. In Norse mythology, Thor and Jormungandr fight so ferociously the entire world can feel the fight. The force of the two fighting is so great that it splinters Yggdrasil, which is the world tree, and the destruction of the realms begin. In God of War, I think this is going to take a step further. I believe during Thor and Jormungandr's battle, Thor will hit Jormungandr so hard that he will send him through the splinters of the world tree and send him back in time for when he first showed up in the Lake of Nine. So that would explain how he just appeared one day, according to Mimir. But before he's thrown into the past, he will poison Thor, because that is how he died in mythology. Whether it is poison from his fangs, or there is a theory going around that it is a mist poison, kinda like from Niflheim. Either way, Thor will be poisoned and weakened by Jormungandr. I think this is when Kratos will finish Thor off. Tell me what you think about this theory, and if you have any theories of your own, or want to see a certain topic covered in a video, please tell me in the comments down below.
My name is Shane Static. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.